If you are one of the many Canadians working with supervised access support, today's expert, Debbie Miles Sr., is putting your child first and supporting you throughout the difficult process of supervised child access. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, again, tough topic, tough job, but yeah, very rewarding. We left off talking a little bit about when a lawyer is in play, so what their role is in this. But my question is, are they always involved in supervised child access?
No, they're not always involved.
Okay.
Usually a mediator sometimes is involved. And the mediator's the role is to basically keep it out of court. But sometimes when the conflict is so high and parents can't make a decision, lawyers get involved in the process.
That's when the money starts being pumped out.
Exactly.
It would be a beautiful world if we could just get along and sort it out on our own, but we're humans. We have this instinct to be defensive and to be protective. It's in us. We're going to need the help of someone else sometimes. So let's talk about the courts. When is it, what would make a court order be present in a situation of conflict? Sorry, when would the court decide that supervised access is needed?
Okay, so the court will decide once there's evidence to show, or from evidence provided by the parents' lawyers or the parents to say that this parent has been this. These are the things that have occurred. The child has been exposed to certain things.
Oh, again, the drugs, the alcoholism.
And so if there is concern about the child's safety, then the judge makes that decision. But the decision is always made in the best interests of the child, with the intentions that the child needs to have a relationship with both parents.
So if there is an instance of violence in that non-custodial parent who's coming to use your service, or there's the chance of abduction, as you mentioned last segment, wouldn't that put you in risk, being with that family member and the child?
So it would, but there's always ground rules, right? So, for example, oftentimes when a child has been exposed to, for example, there's been domestic violence.
Right.
Usually there's always sometimes a criminal charges where the parent can have there's a no contact order in place, where that parent who's been charged has to be away from that, can't be with that parent for 500 meters. So once the access visit occur, the parent there's a no contact order, the primary parent will bring the child earlier, go to separate doors, then the other parent will come along, and then there's that whole safety thing for us. And usually parents, the non-custodial parent, usually follow through in what their conditions are. And the abductions, usually, you're aware, usually we ask questions, we have pictures, the parent, and so that's often quite slim that you would have that occur.
Okay.
But just to cover.
Once this service has been sought out, what is your goal? How do we start? What is this access goal?
So what we try to do is really sit and create an access goal with the parent.
Okay.
So we get the call, this is the court conditions, or this is the decision that's been made. So we sit with each parent separately. We sit with the primary parent. Give us a description of the child, what the child likes,
so
what is the child
involved.
Yes, so everything. What has the child been exposed to? What are some of your concerns? And so we, with the non-custodial parent, we sit with the non-custodial parent. What was the relationship like with you and the child before this occurred? What are the goals? What would you like to see? Sometimes the parent hasn't seen the child for a year.
Wow.
And so let's talk about what are some of the things that will make you anxious? What if the child is not responsive?
Reintroduce you to your child.
So we help the parent along the way. What are some of the things that you're going to do if the child says this? And what is the goal? Parent might say the goal is really to be able to sit with my child comfortable or hug my child, or so we work with the parent along the way and give feedback. So at the end of the access goal, at the end of the conditions that's outlined that, these are how many days, we don't go back to court till then, let's get you to this point.
So could that take 1 day? Could it take 3 days? Does it depend on the parents or the people involved?
For the access,
for the goal to be made.
For the goal to be made, we do it in our intake process. And then when the access visit occur, we follow along with the parent. And usually parent has their access visit for 3-4 months. So we go along and we check in with the parent. How are things going? What do we need to do?
Do we ever talk with the child or the children, I suppose, if they are of age, about this access goal? Are they included in this goal in the discussion?
So it depends on the child's age, and it depends on the concern.
So
for the child.
sometimes.
Sometimes, and I think it's really, in my opinion, I think it's really important if a child has been exposed and if the child is afraid of the other parent,
Right.
or they're anxious. It's always good to say, what is it that
You're
that we
weary
need to
of.
know, you're
Yeah.
weary of, because a lot of things, if a child has been exposed to trauma, there's a lot of things that will trigger the child through the access.
Then throughout this process, and as you mentioned, it can take 4 months, it could take 4 years, perhaps even? No, that's really long. But a divorce process can last anywhere for a year, 2 years, 3 years. It can take quite some time.
Yes.
So my question to you is, what is your role in the final decision of the courts in this custodial battle? What is your role?
So once we help the parents, we follow the court conditions. And so when they go back to court, our role is to provide observation notes. So we do observation notes of what's going on,
Every
step by
day?
step, every day once we have access.
So you're on the roller coaster at Canada's Wonderland and you take out your pen and pad and you're writing notes?
No, we don't usually try and do that because it makes it difficult. So we do the notes after, or if we're at a restaurant or so sometimes, or even in the mall. Sometimes we'll do it on our phone. 'Cause
Whenever
it's
you
less.
get an opportunity, so little
It's
Jimmy
less.
isn't like, why do you keep
We
writing
work
down?
them.
Play with me.
Exactly,
Gotcha.
right? So.
Okay, perfect. Next segment I'm looking forward to, and I think so are our guests. We're going to be exploring the effects of divorce on your child, so stay with us.